Chapter 2. Tyson the Terrible. When Marvin arrived in the kitchen, Granddad was sitting at the table, drinking tea and smiling a big smile. His hair was grey, and his face had lots of lines on it, but he looked very young when he smiled, and he was almost always smiling. Today, he was wearing a big hat with 5 different pairs of glasses all around it. Grandad needed different glasses for different things. He needed them for reading, for looking at people, for using the internet, for sitting in the sun, and, of course, for making things. When he needed to change his glasses, he just turned his hat to the left or the right, so he never lost his glasses like other granddads sometimes did. "Good morning, favourite grandson," Grandad said as Marvin quickly ate his breakfast. "You're in a hurry this morning." "I woke up late," said Marvin. "The bed didn't let me get up." But Grandad didn't hear him. He was already walking to the garage and thinking about making his next mad gadget. "Have a great day at school," he shouted as he left. "Bye, Grandad," smiled Marvin. "Have a great day in the garage." Marvin left home feeling happy. He was listening to his favourite music on his MP3 player, and he was wearing his new trainers. "And I've got a swimming class later. I love swimming. Today is going to be a good day," he thought. He danced along the street to the music. "Hey, Marilyn!" Tyson's voice cut through Marvin's happiness like a knife. Marvin knew it was Tyson because his voice was very loud and because he always called Marvin by a girl's name. Tyson thought this was funny. "What's wrong with you, Marilyn?" Marvin stopped his little dance and started to walk quickly towards school. Tyson followed him. "Hey, Marilyn, I'm talking to you," Tyson said behind him. Tyson pushed his finger into Marvin's back. Marvin turned to look at him. Tyson was smiling, but it wasn't a nice smile. "Didn't you hear me, Marilyn? I thought you were talking to somebody else. My name's Marvin," he replied. "And anyway, I was listening to my music." Tyson took Marvin's MP3 player from him and listened. "What's that? Classical music?" he laughed. Marvin looked down at his feet and tried to think of something to say. Tyson looked down at the same time. "Ah," he said. "Were you dancing in your little new trainers?" Marvin found his voice. "I wasn't dancing. I was doing my fighting practice." "Little Marilyn can fight?" Tyson laughed in Marvin's face. "Don't talk to me about fighting. See this scar?" He showed Marvin his arm. It had a big long line on it, with lots of smaller lines across it. "Yes," said Marvin. He knew what Tyson was going to say next. "I got this when I stopped 5 robbers from robbing a bank. I'm not afraid of anyone or anything." "You said there were 3 robbers last time," Marvin said. He quickly took his MP3 player back from Tyson and started to run away. But Tyson was already leaving. Some other students were coming towards them, and he knew that they always looked after Marvin. "Be careful today, fighting boy," he shouted as he left. "I'll be right behind you." Marvin was so angry he had stomachache. Tyson always made him feel bad. And every time that Tyson was horrible to Marvin, Marvin's stomach hurt. Lessons in the morning were boring, but after lunch, Marvin had swimming class. Marvin got ready in the changing rooms at school and put his bag, clothes, and new trainers in his school locker. As he locked his locker, Tyson came into the changing rooms. He was right behind Marvin. Marvin quickly took his towel and ran out of the room. He didn't want any more trouble from Tyson. Tyson looked around him. There was no one in the changing rooms, no one to bully. He was just leaving when he saw some keys in one of the lockers. Marvin's locker. Excellent, thought Tyson as he opened the door. Inside were Marvin's bag, clothes, and his new trainers. Tyson quickly took the trainers out and closed the door again. Then he put Marvin's key in his pocket. A few minutes later, he was standing outside the swimming pool and waving at Marvin through the window. Marvin wasn't wearing his glasses, and his eyes were full of water, so he couldn't see what was in Tyson's hand at first. He climbed out of the swimming pool, dried his eyes, and put his glasses on. Then he saw everything. "No!" shouted Marvin. "Not my new trainers!" He put his towel around him and ran outside as quickly as he could. He knew he was quicker than Tyson, but, of course, Tyson was wearing shoes, and Marvin wasn't. Marvin was wet and cold, and his feet were hurting. But soon he could see Tyson, who was running towards the school cafe. "Oh no!" thought Marvin. "I think he's going to throw my trainers in the dustbin." He was right. When he arrived at the cafe, he saw Tyson throwing his trainers into the big dustbin outside the school kitchen. His lovely new trainers were now under vegetables, tomatoes, old bits of meat and fish. Marvin quickly pulled them out, but they were not clean now. No. Now they had bits of food on them and were very, very dirty. Tyson thought this was very funny. "Hey, Marilyn!" he shouted. "You've got very dirty feet. Your trainers were clean this morning." Marvin thought he was going to cry. Tyson put his hand over his nose and came across to Marvin. "Your feet are very smelly too. Your trainers smell like old fish." He ran away, still laughing. Marvin was very angry now, so his stomach was hurting again. He wanted to run after Tyson and fight him, but he knew that was stupid. He was smaller than Tyson, and he was also wet and wearing only a towel. He started to walk slowly back to the changing rooms in his dirty trainers. As he turned the corner, he saw Tyson again. The bully was standing in the playground. He wasn't moving. There was a big, angry dog outside the school gates. It was jumping up and down and making a lot of noise. Marvin could see that Tyson's face was very white. He was shaking all over and holding his stomach. As Marvin got closer, Tyson's face changed from white to green, and then he was sick all over his shoes. So, Tyson is afraid of something, thought Marvin as he walked away. And I'm not the only person who has to clean his shoes tonight.